Uh, Galen, aren't you gonna...
Do the intro? Come on, I'm not going to introduce a whole episode dedicated to myself. That's just awkward, man.
You say so. Rana, intro time.
Welcome, one and all, and rejoice, for it is time for us to celebrate a keystone member of this bi-monthly enterprise. Steadfast with us for every episode, being recording, editing, or more likely both. His unblinking heliotrope Oculus casts a guiding gaze upon our earth. With technical knowledge engineered to perfection and an ear sharper than a razor's edge, he is the inimitable icon of inputs, Galen the Soundguy Firestone. So welcome to the Music Arcade.
I need a moment to recover from the embarrassment of having that thrown at me. Thank you, it was very flattering. I'm not good with compliments.
Mission accomplished.
I'm laughing so much. That was so over the top.
That was
You know
a
what
lot.
you did.
I know what I did. I did nothing. No, I told you to.
No, that was addressed at Edie.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Oy vey. Hello,
I
everyone.
told Rana to improv.
We both did. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Music Arcade Podcast. I am, as mentioned, very loudly and over the toply, Galen the Soundguy Firestone.
Hey, I'm Radical.
And I'm Eddie, and I regret telling Rana to improv.
I mean, that's not improv. I had a script. I wouldn't come out with heliotrope off the top of my head.
I'm
That's
impressed with
fair.
your use of the word, honestly.
Thank you.
Anyway, I guess it's my time in the hot seat.
It is your time indeed. We're just gonna go through it, and you were the next in line, and similar to what has been established in the previous episode and what has been briefly mentioned right before we recorded, this is also going to be a great series of great songs.
Yeah, I like to think I picked some decent ones.
So Bangers Part 2, basically.
Well,
Honestly, if that personal little mini-series turns out to be kind of a best-of, all the better.
yeah, absolutely. Also, I just realized my text notes has the old number 10 and not the new number 10, so I'm going to be winging that one.
Oh boy.
Whoops.
Turns out you're the one that's going to do some improv after all.
I'll deal with it. Anyway, we are using the same prompts as last time, so we may as well dive into it. And the first prompt, as before, is a song that I like that deserves more recognition or I think is underrated. And I went with Hailstorm from Yakuza 5, the battle theme for the Sapporo section of the game.
Yeah, that's a great fight theme. It's at a... I really like that it's at the intersection of the character and the environment, where we got on one side the almost flute-like sounds at the hook that help build this chilly atmosphere because it's a snowed-in city that these fights are happening in, but then you also got the guitars and the percussions and just this sense of weight that fits Seijima as a character, and it's a normal fight theme, but it does the job extremely well, and in a way that's radically different from the other fight themes in the series, I think.
Yeah, I can't comment on how underrated the song is, because I don't really interact with the Yakuza fan base outside of the two of you, basically. But this is I can see why you would pick this song based on quality, at least. Because, like, I particularly like the mix of the specific guitar tones they chose with the specific synths they chose. those two together kind of dance together in a very hard way, let's say.
Yeah.
So, this is a case where the music itself is kind of secondary to its reputation. I think people in the fandom do like this song, they just never want to hear it. And
Yes. That would be a correct assessment.
yes, and the main reason for that is that this is a part of Yakuza 5 in which the encounter rate is notoriously awful. Like, Digital Devil Saga bad. You literally get out of a fight, go one step, and you're already in another fight.
Oh yeah, you are getting pelted like... These streets are some of the meanest around. You wouldn't think so in a place that looks like it's just winding down to have a good time and enjoy some winter activities such as throwing snowballs, fighting a bear, and looking at a Miku snow statue, but here we go.
Okay, the bear was one of the coolest parts of Yakuza 5, and I will hear no argument to the contrary.
You won't hear any arguments of the contrary from me.
But yeah, it's just, you hear this song constantly, and generally speaking, in a meta sense, anytime Saejima shows up with his own fight music, it's always his Yakuza 4 battle theme, not his Yakuza 5 battle theme. So, I kind of wanted to shout this out. Also, I love how stupid the, like, gangsters are in the Sapporo section. Because it's like, you see this dude rip a streetlight out of the ground and beat the snot out of somebody with it, throwing everyone all over the place, destroying half the city block, and you think, yes, that's the guy I want to rob. Really?
He's wounded now. They soften it for me. Surely he won't drag and drop somebody a 5th time in a row.
Yeah, it was,
Lord.
To explain a bit further what I mean by drag and drop, so there's this move named the Tiger Drop that's pretty iconic in the series. That's essentially an anticipatory counter move where you punch somebody super fast right during the hit them first, and basically throw them half a building's length away. And Saejima's is the same kind of move, but it's a headbutt and immediately stuns the enemy, which lets you do your huge grapple move if they've somehow survived.
Are you guys sure that Yakuza isn't a wrestling series?
It absolutely is. It is. It's a beat 'em up. It is.
They have not only a huge amount of wrestling references, but also wrestling cameos. Kiryu has an official wrestling persona in particular Yakuza 3. They wear the reference on their sleeves.
A whole bunch of New Japan, I think it was, wrestlers show up as characters in Yakuza 6. Like, yeah, no, they love wrestling around there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So yeah,
going back to the song, I think it's kind of funny that the only negative thing I wrote down is that it sounds a little bit repetitive, and then you say it plays all the time because the encounter rate is through the roof. So that sounds like hell.
On the plus side, it plays relatively briefly because the fights don't really last long.
No, Saejima is powerful enough that you don't hear most of the song either, so you mostly just hear that intro.
Yeah, that kind of makes it worse.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I call this song underrated. When separated from its game and you just listen to it, or a version of this game that had a more stable and sane encounter rate, this song actually slaps. So, I will be honest, this was the second to last song I picked, and that's only because number 10, as I mentioned earlier, was a last-second replacement because YouTube threw at me an old video, and I'm like, oh right, I should really talk about this instead. But my last conscious decision was this one.
And that's a wonderful pick that not only conjures back memories of this big guy throwing somebody into a snowman and dramatically planting a carrot as the nose of the snowman.
You actually need a carrot in your
way...
inventory to use that move, by the way.
Exactly. But also the way it waves and goes around rising and falling in a way that's a bit unique. It sets a really strong pace. It anchors the action in the slower but more intense moveset of the character, and in this city, it's a perfect fit. And that won't even be the only perfect fit for that episode, so look forward to more of those in very different registers.
Okay, so I'm just going to apologize to the audience. Funny transitions are just not something I'm capable of today, as I'm recording this on very little sleep, so I'm going to be playing this a little straight. The second prompt is a Rana song that I like too, or that makes me think of him. Now, here's the thing, Rana. You and I have kind of two modes when it comes to our tastes in game music. We're either exactly in lockstep. We have very similar tastes.
Yes.
Until we don't, where usually I find myself kind of hating some of your picks because they get too weird for me.
Yep.
So,
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So finding something that kind of straddles that line was actually more difficult than I thought. This was one of the harder prompts for me because it's like, I'm either talking about something I already know well anyway, and...
At which point it's not quite a Rana song anymore.
Exactly. Or I'm talking about something I probably don't like, which is the exact opposite of the prompt.
Yeah.
And then I remembered there was one...
I quite like where you landed, honestly.
Yeah. I basically remembered there was one game that I haven't had a chance to play that you absolutely love, and it features kind of a lot of people we talk about on this podcast, such as Motoi Sakuraba, Yasunori Mitsuda, Yuzo Koshiro, and that is, of course, Kid Icarus Uprising. So I went back through the soundtrack, I picked the Seafloor Palace because I just like its vibe, and this track's for me. So that was my pick here.
I'm surprised it took you that long to come up with the Rana pick, because my first note on this was going straight for Kid Icarus, huh?
I would love to say I went straight for anything here. This took me a good 3 days of racking my brain.
Honestly, the fact that it took you a bit of time reassures me, because it means my strategy worked. The strategy being years ago to do an entire Kid Icarus Uprising episode so that I wouldn't bring it up every other episode repeatedly. And I'm pretty sure I brought that song in that episode as well, so mission accomplished. And that one is, in particular, it's got multiple movements because it's one of the songs that happens during the on-rail kind of Star Fox-like sections.
It sounded like it, yeah.
Where you start in the desert part, which is a remix of the heavenly areas at the end of the original, but with that desert twist. Angel Land, it's officially called Angel Land. So we start with that remix. Then what happens is that you reach the edge of the desert and the seas part before you. And for a while, Palutena shows off and say, yeah, I can do anything. But no, turns out it was actually Poseidon that parted the seas because they're his seas. He's not gonna let anyone else part them. And they bicker a little bit while you are dashing fast with the oceans on your left and on your right. And sometimes when you go close, you have this ripple effect and all. It's very dynamic. It's really cool. And the deeper you go, as the music gets darker, the stage gets darker as well, as you get through the opened but sinister abyss and deeper depth of the oceans, going through ruined cities and colorful formations, eventually reaching your destination, the Seafloor Palace that is under attack by Thanatos.
I just want to say after all that, shout outs to the lesser known elements of Greek mythology, Angel Land and Palutena.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's a little... Yeah, it's like, we're just gonna throw this random stuff in here. On the subject of...
the thing that surprised me the most on rewatching the level to make sure I had the context right was that they didn't even bother to make a fake name for the Poseidon. They just called him Poseidon.
And unfortunately, Poseidon Thanatos, my brain just instantly goes to Hades and those designs, so, you know.
Actually, that is Thanatos and not Thanatos. They did make a fake name for the god of death, and it's just that they took the H out.
Sure. I'm going with sure on that one.
I mean,
Yep.
to be fair, I think that's probably closer to how it was pronounced in ancient Greek. So,
Well, it's a hard TH, yes. It's a feta.
Just going to have another
fun
sip
times.
of tea here while you guys discuss etymology.
But yeah, this song sounded a bit familiar to me. I was wondering whether we brought it up on the Kid Icarus Uprising episode or not. But I really enjoyed the dulcimer in the first part. Dulcimers in general are something I really dig. It did make me wonder if it was specifically a santur because it had a bit of a we're doing Persia vibe in the first movement, as you called it, and the santur is specifically a Persian dulcimer. But yeah, the entire song is pretty neat. The rest of the song after the first movement sounds fairly anime, for the lack of a better terminology, but in a good way. Like it's a good combat theme that you could hear in an anime as well.
It's got that heroic vibe.
It does. A little strange for me to have picked this one in a ways because I don't usually gravitate towards scored songs or songs that are to a time. I tend to prefer songs that do loop. So, but no, this one I also really like how the movements play with each other. I do really like the second movement a lot as it gets into the more Sakuraba isms with his specific kind of synths kind of coming in, but it's still a tight ship, so it isn't like going into prog hell.
And kinda to your first point, I also tend to prefer more illustrative songs to that kind that are very much sticking to a script. But they make it work very well because the parts kind of play off each other. And there's not a forced transition every time. It's just they're using the tools at their disposal to do what needs to be done. Like from the desert to the sea, there's just a silence. It's essentially a mini song and then another whole song with 3 parts.
Yeah.
But it worked within the context of the level structure.
Yeah, and I remember from that Kid Icarus episode, there was one song in particular that when just plain listening to it, I didn't like it at all. But when seeing it within the context of the level, it totally clicked. And that is something that game tends to be surprisingly good at, is using the gameplay itself as a way to enhance the music instead of just vice versa. So...
Absolutely.
I think that it's a surprisingly good fit, and it's one that I like very much as well. So I'd like to think it fits the prompt, and it sounds like you agree.
I certainly like this song a lot too, especially the second movement.
Yep. Now, Edie, on the other hand, is a bit more opaque to me. And I say that in that we have some elements of commonality, and that will be coming up later as well. But generally speaking, our musical tastes tend to be pretty far afield from each other.
That's
so
fair,
picking,
I think.
Yeah, so picking an Edie song that I like too, or a song that reminded me of Edie, and I went with Plan B on that part 2 of that prompt on this one. There was one song in particular that I thought you would like for basically ever, and I've been looking for every excuse in the book to introduce this song to you, and was
Oh, that's the angle.
Yeah, and I was very, like, you picking Otherworld from Final Fantasy X last episode kind of cemented that, okay, I have a slot here, let's spend it. And I always figured, you would like Via Purifico from Final Fantasy X as well, for exact opposite reasons as Otherworld. It's kind of got your earmarks. It's got kind of a Baroque piano, which I know you like your piano lines. It's got a haunting atmosphere. You like your atmospheric music. It's rather gothic. I know that's more of a vibe than it is an actual style, but I figured it would be in your wheelhouse. So I've been kind of like, I wanted to introduce this song to you, hoping you would like it, but there was a comment you made at the beginning of the episode that makes me think I might have miscalculated horribly. Is this a song you don't like?
No, this is fine.
Okay.
I think it's fair to describe this as a sort of a short nocturne. It has some of the hallmarks of nocturnes, and I really enjoy nocturnes. Nocturnes are really, really pretty songs in general, and I have some composers of specifically piano pieces that I listen to fairly often. One of them, funnily enough, I already listened to him before, but then he showed up in the classical music radio for Forza Horizon 6. So there's another song of his there. That's Aloha for Arknights. I also listened to Philip Glass, which was a joke that we made in one episode where Rana had to justify a pick in an April Fool's episode by saying it was a Philip Glass pick. And of course, the master of nocturnes, I listened to Chopin a lot.
Yep.
So of course I enjoyed this.
Okay, good. I thought so, but that comment you made at the beginning of I don't like this song, I'm like, oh god, if it's this song I picked for Eddie, I'm gonna lose my mind. So I feel a lot better now.
Surprised. I'm a bit surprised you didn't go more gothic, but I get why you picked this song. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, this one's simple. This is specifically from the FF10 10.2 remaster compilation, but even funnier is that it's not even written for the game. This was a piano arrangement of the song arranged by other FF10 composer Masashi Hamauzu, like that released 6 months after FF10, and they just thought, okay, well, that's better than the original, so we're going to stick it in the new game.
And I disagree. I prefer the original.
A lot of people do.
It's more understated. It's a bit more mournful, less beautiful in a way, but I don't think the Via Purifico, the area that's essentially an open prison, is the kind of place where these extra notes, these extra lyrical, almost flights of fancy, work to convey what the place is supposed to convey. But it's a wonderful piece in itself. It's just that there's always the shadow of the original that's kind of looming behind, and I'm like, I prefer this one.
Yeah, that one's definitely a matter of preference. Obviously, that's not something that Eddie has context for.
Imagine Eddie not having a context for something.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen on this podcast ever.
No, never.
What is this podcast about again?
Cars.
Final Fantasy XIV.
All right. So, okay, I'm no longer scared. That was the only song that I really was worried when you said you didn't like one, so I'm calm. You're welcome to not like whatever the hell else you don't like.
You are free from your burden.
Indeed. And next up, we have a sleeper hit from one of my favorite composers. Now, once upon a time, I played a beat-em-up by the name of River City Girls. And this was composed by a woman by the name of Megan McDuffie. And this soundtrack was so good, I had to kind of stop and reconsider my musical tastes as a whole.
One of the great moments of this, I mean, it wasn't directly part of Music Arcade, but it was during Music Arcade's lifetime, I believe.
Maybe a little before that, because I think I remember during the original, like, prompt thing that inspired Music Arcade, that 30-day prompt thing, I remember posting my pics on Twitter, and one of them was one of her songs, and she actually responded to me.
All right.
I remember that because she's one of the only composers who I talk to semi-regularly. I don't want to make it sound like we're friends or something, but we do talk to each other online on occasion. So that stood in my mind as the first time that happened.
That's cool.
Indeed.
Anyway, shortly after that happened, I started, as I was reconsidering my music, I'm like, okay, let's go look up more synthwave stuff and see if this was a fluke or if I actually do like this. And I found a couple playlists on YouTube, and one of them led me to this song, Fury Weekend, 1,000 Lights, featuring, hey, guess who? Megan McDuffie, this time just as a featured singer. No composition credit, I don't think. I don't really know, but I fell in love with this song.
Seems to match what I've noticed looking at the description and further.
I fell in love with this song basically immediately. This was just a great piece of synth pop music, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I guess I do like this. I guess I'm into it. I had a chance to broaden my horizons, and I took that chance by the horns. And this was the song that really... I don't say this is a song that really cemented it, because there's another artist we'll be talking about later who also fell into this category pretty quickly. But this was one of them that really kind of lit up my brain. So I kind of wanted to show it off because it is a non-video game track and the sleeper hit from one of my favorite composers that doesn't have to be a video game track. This came to mind more or less immediately as something that I wanted to share and obviously never had an excuse to because, to my knowledge, has never appeared on a video game.
No, my first line was, of course, that cheeky, I should build a hospital. The joke here being that this genre has been used a lot in the streams of Two Point Hospital as background music.
I think including By Me.
Yes, by you specifically is what I was getting at. Yeah. And beyond that, I am less of a fan of this genre, but it's like this song sets off to do something, and without a doubt does it. It aims for atmosphere over anything else. Looking at the lyrics, they are even about this atmosphere. This song has a mission statement, and it accomplishes that mission statement to a T. It's very much like the kind of song that I may not necessarily love, but that I absolutely respect for doing exactly what it sets out to do. And on a technical level, of course, the vocals work really well. The instrumentations feel familiar, but in a way that is a perfect fit for the genre. Yeah, no, it's very illustrative of its genre.
It is, and I remember last episode you mentioned that synthwave and related genres kind of don't have an emotional resonance, and honestly, one of the things that drew me to this song is the fact that Megan is selling it on the vocals, so this was kind of my counter argument to that statement. Like,
I wouldn't really say that it doesn't have an emotional resonance, especially not in a vacuum, but that it kind of fake it till it makes it. Which isn't a knockdown. On the contrary, the fact that it manages to evoke something that wasn't necessarily there in its form in the materials of the time period it nominally refers to is honestly kind of an impressive magician's trick.
I mean, speaking of last episode, when we talked about the synthwave songs in Forza Horizon 6, I mentioned that a lot of the synthwave songs there kind of blend together in my brain, because that's sort of a bit of an issue with synthwave for me.
yeah,
Even though I do enjoy the genre, they the songs can be a bit too similar. But this one does a solid job of differentiating itself, set itself apart between the guitars and Mega McDuffie's vocals. I think it sets itself apart really well, and it sounds really neat, at least to my ears.
It's without a doubt a pleasant listen.
Yeah, it's just not something either of you would seek out again, and honestly, that's fine. For me,
Yeah.
I will be honest, I get hyped anytime this shows up on a Spotify playlist or whatever. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's my jam right there.
I mean, you say that, but one of my notes is that this would have worked so well on Horizon Wave. I actually do enjoy the song quite a bit.
Hell yeah. Well, good. I'm glad I got to introduce it to you. I've never had an excuse to bring it up before, and glad I did.
There was
That's
a
part
time,
of this episode's mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
there. Fun fact: there was actually a time, I think it was like 3-4 years ago, where one of our listeners, who was also a friend of mine, actually shared with me if I recall correctly, the new Retrowave YouTube channel where you got this song from. So there was a time where I was actively listening to new synthwave. I don't do that as much nowadays because I kind of need something more energetic to work to. But I do enjoy the genre. I just sometimes have issue differentiating one song from the other.
I think I heard a mic, so you may need to retake that.
The whole thing?
No, I think that was a rumbling on my end.
Oh, okay then. Then never
It
mind.
might have been a rumbling on my end.
Didn't
you guys-
hear any rumble?
Rana, can you check your waveform real quick and just see if, like, during that you have, like, a weird spike in there?
Let's see. Right, there's the
was-
line.
Probably on my end.
Yeah, no, I can't move back on the timeline while it's still going.
Go, Audacity, go. Go ahead and
It was
retake it just
probably
for
here.
safety.
It's an older version, to be fair.
Yeah. Go ahead and retake it just for safety, and we will,
I'll say what I remember because I don't remember everything.
yeah, just the last couple of bits.
Yeah, so I did spend a time where I was actively going after new synthwave music through the same channel, the new retrowave channel on YouTube. I don't do that anymore as much nowadays because I kind of need more energetic music to work to, but
Right.
I'm still into the whole thing, just outside of those songs that blend together in my brain, like I mentioned before.
Right. Well, cool. All right. Next up, we have a very weird one. And I say very weird because we've talked about the unique relationship between STARSET and Arknights before, but this song is really throwing me off. Some days I love it, and some days I want to kick it in the garbage. Why is this on your official playlist and not... Why is this on your official playlist and not Waiting for the Sky to Change with Breaking Benjamin instead? That's annoying. We're talking about We Are Empire from Arknights Endfield, a song that the last time we talked about STARSET and Arknights, we didn't actually talk about the music itself. We focused on the story. This time I kind of want to talk about the song.
Fair. And there's certainly a lot of stuff to talk about. Starting with, I mean, the main takeaway I have looking closer at the song is how perfectly in tune the song is with the game.
Yeah.
When it comes to both the musical tone and the lyrics, yeah, it's a perfect fit, almost to a fault. And
Yeah.
I would say the moment it goes and takes that extra step to the fault before walking it back is when it name drops the game.
Yeah, and that is the, like, to me, cringe moment of the song. I'm like, this... as an experiment, their most recent album, Silos, I would call it a wild success, except for one song on that album that I just absolutely do not like at all. And as an experiment, I basically set it up to play this song in it instead, even with the Enfield reference. and it actually made the album click for me a lot more. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I just find myself in this position where it's like, I want to defend this song, but the actual, like... And I don't even dislike Endfield necessarily. I still pay attention to it, even though I don't play it. I don't know. I'm just such of a mixed mind of this, because apparently some version of this song has been in the works since the Divisions album. That was 3 albums ago now.
Which makes it all the more surprising it's such a perfect fit, because again, when it comes to not just the story of the game, but even what you do, what's the driving force, and what's kind of the underlying consequences of some gameplay elements, it's all right there. Not a single millimeter of what it's supposed to hit at. It's honestly impressive in this way. I think I love this song.
Fair.
I wonder if the song kind of got rewritten around the time they released Brave New World, because Brave New World was used in the first Endfield trailer, if I recall correctly.
You do.
And this sounds kind of similar to that. Like the vibe is more or less in the same general area.
It definitely feels like it belongs on Silos, right? Like,
oh yeah,
if you,
my first line of notes here is one of the best songs from the Silos album cycle isn't on the album.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing, Rana. It's funny you say that, and I know for a fact that may not be true. That it was written, like, I know it was. I don't say written for. There may have been some rewrites, and there almost certainly was with the Endfield name drop.
I don't even think that was the case, but it's how perfect the match is. Like, I feel they would have been a bit more oblique if they had written it from A to Z from the get-go for that.
That's the problem, though, because I have evidence that shows that, no, they're just really, really simpatico with each other, and that is the song Infected, which ended up on Horizons. Infected is a song that they wrote for Horizons, dropped, and I've heard the original beta version. It's the same song, just with a bunch of extra filler that they eventually cut out for the release, which Arknights convinced them to re-edit and release as a promotional track for them, and they threw it on Horizons anyway. And I'm like, oh, Infected is just perfect for Arknights in every way, shape, and form, exactly like you're saying, and that song definitely predates that relationship. So, no, they're just in lockstep with each other.
I believe it. And yeah, when it comes to the song, the musicality of it, it's futuristic, it's intense, it's clean everywhere. They know what they're doing. It's a great listen.
It is, and I'm glad they released it.
Takes a bit of a moment to get started, perhaps, but once it gets its cruise speed, it all clicks together.
And this is a case much like Mega McDuffie, who, you know, I'm glad these songs were right next to each other, because a very similar thing happened with them. They were something that I discovered because of a video game, in this case Arknights, and followed to their more mainstream career, up to and including being very interested in seeing them live in concert, which will be another recurring theme coming up soon as well. I have not seen them live yet. Currently, they're on tour with Breaking Benjamin and a few other people, and tickets are ridiculously expensive, and they're not even headliners, and I'm like, I'm not flying to Vegas or LA to see them not headline. Like, that's not economically viable as much as I wish it was. If I had an excuse to go out there that wasn't just this, I would be more seriously considering of it, but unfortunately that is not the case. Next time, I really hope they get a headline tour. Also, apparently they are really cool live, because very recently they streamed a older concert of theirs that I was able to, the live edit, I was able to post that to my Discord. And the first few songs are bad because lead singer Dustin Bates was wearing a really wacky costume, and that costume was really affecting his singing ability. Like, really affecting it.
I followed the live commentary on it. Basically, you only allowed yourself to pause the concert once the costume came off and the abilities returned magically to the the band.
Yeah,
It's like a cursed item in an RPG.
Yeah, a little bit. I've had cases before where bands that I liked, I saw them in concert and they sucked, and I just immediately fell out of love with them and never wanted to see them again. Soilwork was a great example of this. I ignored them for like a decade because their live performance was terrible. So I was a little afraid that was happening with STARSET as well, but no, it turns out it was a costume malfunction, so fine. These things happen. Welcome to live music. They got way better after that, and I felt confident posting it. So yeah, no, that was a scary moment. I'm like, this is the, oh god, send help.
Before we move to the next song, I just have a couple of things to bring up real
Please.
quick. First, I think I already told this story in the podcast before, but just in case I haven't, it's funny you say you discovered STARSET through a game, because I, technically speaking, also discovered STARSET because of a game, but through very different circumstances. When they released the Brave New World music video, the aesthetics screamed Destiny at me. And then I checked, because like it had a circular traveling white orb fighting against a dude with very pyramidal shaped things. Like that was very Destiny. And I had to check that music video when I saw it on my recommended. But as for the song itself, I do want to make a note of the screams in the song, because STARSET, like I enjoyed their heavier songs much more than their softer ones, but it's not exactly 100% a 100% hit rate with the screaming. Sometimes it kind of sounds a bit unnecessary or a bit off to me.
Yeah.
But in this song, it really fits. Like the screams really hit on point every time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He does like more, I guess, punk or emo screams in some earlier songs, but Silos is the first album that he really experimented with death growls, and this is the first song where I feel personally like it landed more or less completely correct. I think the title track Silos is also a good example of this, but no, I totally agree with you there. This one feels like they're part of the tapestry from the beginning instead of experimented with, so to speak. So, for the next topic, this one hit me from the old-fashioned recency play, and that was a song that's not from a video game, but feels like it could be. And this was actually one of my earlier picks. Not that I had any idea who this band or song was until very shortly before I put it on the list. And it happens the same way as it usually does these days. I was listening to one of my playlists, in this case a synthwave playlist, because as I mentioned, I do occasionally listen to that now. And I'm like walking down King Street, I'm heading to a bus stop, and the song starts playing, and I'm like, interesting. What Yakuza game is this from? I pull out my phone, and I'm like, what the hell is a Blue Stahli? And
sounds like a cool bird.
A little bit. But yeah, no, that was very much, I guess, I honestly, like, I saw the UI in my mind's eye as I listened to this song. This one's, like, right out of the Yakuza composition playbook, at least to my mind.
And it's so funny because that's not where my mind went when
Really?
I listening
not
to it.
where my mind went either.
Okay, you go first then.
So I thought, first, it fits perfectly a fighting game to me.
Okay.
And I was a bit divided between a few franchises. The first that came to my mind was Killer Instinct, because Killer Instinct does this sort of thing now and then, and not everything from Killer Instinct was by Mick Gordon. Season 3 was by
Cell Dweller.
Cell Dweller.
And yeah, there were a few other composers on seasons 1 and 2 as well. It wasn't just Mick, though all the best songs were, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the first thought was like, it could fit Killer Instinct. Then I thought maybe even Tekken, depending on the character, like as a character theme. And then I thought, you know what would be really cool? If Mortal Kombat started having really cool music, and this was the theme for Cyrex and Sector, Cyborg.
Oh man, I would probably like Mortal Kombat a lot more if the music was this cool.
I mean, in my notes there is cool future robots fighting theme, so
There you go.
seems like we're in line there. but I didn't have it within the context of a fighting game per se, because what I mainly heard in this song was some Frank Klepacki with a more early 2010s electronic sound. But I don't know, that's where my mind went, and that's a pretty good place for my mind to go, because of how foundational his work is to my love of video game music, I'd say. So yeah, that's a good one.
I can kind of see some Klepacki-isms in the song.
I didn't catch that, but now that you say that, I'm kind of, yeah.
Funnily enough, this is also a band that shows up on my recommends on Spotify all the time, and I never have stopped to check them out, so maybe I should. We'll see.
Seems like they're in your wheelhouse, especially since you wanted more energetic synth stuff or more energetic music in general, and from what I've heard of them since these last 3 weeks, seems to fit there. I'm not sure they're a band that I would ever actively listen to, but if they show up on a playlist, I'm certainly going to enjoy it.
Okay, so fun fact real quick, because I had to check it out on Wikipedia. So it's a solo project by one Brett Autry. His featured picture on Wikipedia shows him performing at a Cell Dweller show. And the final line of the first paragraph of his article on Wikipedia says, additionally, he composes music for video games.
Of course. Okay, so that Cell Dweller connection you picked up on apparently was 100% correct. You nailed that one.
Yeah, apparently he worked on Ubisoft's The Crew Motorfest.
Oh, I believe that. This is exactly the kind of song that would have shown up there. Okay. Well, we discovered something. No, I literally, I'm like walking down King Street, this comes on, I'm like, is this from Kiwami 3 or something? Because I skipped that one.
I'm surprised it showed up on a synthwave playlist.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to listening to so much of people we're going to talk about later on in the episode, my synth and electronic stuff tends to be on the more aggressive side. So
we now know your equivalent to my workout playlist.
A little? I mean, I mostly listen to death metal, so like, yeah.
I mean, in terms of memories, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it's hilarious, some of the leaps my list takes, because you talked about Mick Gordon. He features prominently on that. Killer Instinct soundtrack especially comes up a lot. A lot of industrial side stuff comes up. Finishing Move Inc., who did Doom Eternal, who we talked about in the Best of the Year episode last year. Not Doom Eternal, sorry, Doom of the Dark Ages. I'm going to retake that. Finishing Move Inc., who did the Doom the Dark Ages soundtrack, who we talked about late last year, they show up. And then, yeah, there's songs like...
who has just gotten an expansion announced today.
Nice. And...
so there's going to be more where that came from.
Yeah, and then there's Thousand Lights that always shows up on the playlist because I like listening to it. And then other songs that, like, Target Acquired had a feature with Megan as well. No, Void Chapter, Target Acquired's the song name. Had a feature with her as well. That one shows up, and those aren't nearly as aggressive. So that's just sort of a consequence of me listening to aggressive music. Yeah, that particular playlist gets a little wacky. I didn't design it. Spotify did for me, and I don't mind its ebbs and flows. It's funny, but it does create situations like this one where I kind of think, oh, is this from Yakuza Kiwami 3? And it turns out, no, it's just some dude who totally could write Yakuza music or fighting game music or could work with Cell Dweller if he really wanted to.
It's the synthwave playlist with a lot of asterisks after synthwave.
Sure enough. Absolutely.
Or indeed, he could work for RTS music.
Apparently, because, yeah, no, you latch out of the you latched out of the Klepacki-isms, and I missed that. I didn't catch that, and I feel like I should have, because I'm usually pretty good at catching those. So yeah, and that kind of illustrates something that happens to me a lot, especially with this show, is I'll just be walking down a street or listening to just a playlist while I'm writing or whatever, and yeah, something comes up and it makes me kind of sit in my chair and stop and go like, I should talk about this. So this was a bit of kismet here, as it gave me an opportunity to do so.
Wonderful. That's exactly what that's for.
All right, next up, a song Rana made me discover that I'm still actively into, and it kind of pains me to admit this, because You were the one who linked it originally.
Yep.
I believe the fact is that you knew Mick Gordon's work on Doom, and it's an amazing world, and I was like, okay, but have you heard of his Killer Instinct works, though?
The answer at that time was no, not really. I think I might have heard Hibatum, because in retrospect, that one sounded familiar.
And I came with some solid arguments, I believe. This being one of them.
Yeah, Polemos from Killer Instinct Season 2 has become basically one of my favorite tracks of all time. This is one I can always come back to. Now, apparently, Eddie, you said that this was more of a team effort on your part.
Yeah, I was kind of joking there, but there's a grain of truth. So, a little glimpse behind the curtains, let's say. Rana tends to make the playlist first with some preview picks from him and stuff that he will still work out later. He will pare it down
Especially back when the YouTube didn't have the collaborative playlist option.
Yeah.
Yes. So when we did the Mick Gordon special, Rana already had I think 7 songs on the playlist, and I checked the playlists to add some stuff, and I went, oh, so he already has Polemos. Okay, let's find some other stuff. 'Cause that was on my short list as well. Like this is one of those songs where I hear the first few notes, and the first few notes aren't even metal yet. It's just ambience. I just hear those notes, and I am already singing to the choir of Greek warriors, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this one.
Though you're just reading the video description is right, because the list of the chorus is 461 random people, essentially, including the lyricist and his family, and most of the Microsoft employees he could get his hand onto. And,
yeah, there's a behind-the-scenes video that's very interesting where they talk about how he knew what he wanted because it's a Greek golem, the character, and so he wanted Greek in the music. So he contacted a guy to make sure the Greek was all right in the lyrics, and then he asked him to pronounce the Greek for him so he would know the pronunciation. And then he basically just sent the text with the lyrics to a lot of people who were working on the game and went, can you please just record yourself saying these lines? And then he mixed it all together. It sounds like a very angry choir of warriors, but it's actually a bunch of nice people just saying words that he asked.
Yeah, it is kind of a miracle of a song. Because it seems so messy the way you describe it, and yet every note in this thing is so immaculate. And honestly, I get the impression that Mick Gordon is very, very much a tonal perfectionist. If you look at the music video for BFG Division, he has a ton of gear around him, and I recognize most of it, and I'm like, oh, this guy is serious about his tone.
And that's also reflected into the fact that this song isn't how you hear it in the game, because the soundtrack evolves constantly during the fight. The song is layered in multiple smaller movements, but these move back and forth depending on the fight's progression and the rounds, and the quieter moments is the short transition between 2 rounds. You even get at the end, you have the critical kind of very intense moment, and if you finished at that point with an ultra combo, you also have the instruments that accompany each and every note, and you hit in rhythm with the music, and it's very flexible. And in spite of this flexibility, when it comes to the album arrange, it's also extremely cohesive. And
it is.
That's kind of extra magic little bonus that makes the Doom Eternal situation all the more baffling, because he's obviously very good at doing those sorts of album arrange when you give him the time and resources.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring up Doom Eternal, because you mentioned that he sounds like he's a perfectionist, and when the Doom Eternal situation started, and I think the first thing we heard was from Bethesda or from id Software saying that the album would be late or whatever. Everyone just accepted, oh, Mick Gordon is the perfectionist, so
Yeah.
of course it's gonna take a while. And
Yeah.
then came the allegations that he didn't deliver in time, and everyone went, yeah, he's a perfectionist. I guess he just messed up this time. So, like, him being a perfectionist
it was an
sounds
attempt
believable.
to throw him under the bus, and then the bus kind of stalled against him.
Yeah, basically, because everyone went, yeah, I guess that fits Mick. He is a perfectionist. That's all right.
To be fair, it did take a few long years away from a lot of work, but given that more recently there was, of course, that track in Absalom, and apparently he's working on a Gundam game that was recently announced, and
He's got another
still...
He's got another like indie
there's
shooter
not a
that
lot
he
of composers. Yeah, there's not a lot of composers that can shift the needles from, I don't know, the weight of the animations and something doesn't feel right about the game, all the way to, okay, I am now actively keeping track of this game and warn me when it launches. Mick Gordon is one of those. I am now attentive to that Gundam game primarily because of him.
Yeah, there's also another game that he posted on his YouTube channel called Defect, I think, which is this weird futuristic dystopian shooter game that would look ultra generic, but he has an active presence on it somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, because I don't recall any music from this video. But the fact that he's actively involved somewhere is like...
The Gundam game in question is Gundam Rogue Orbit, which just got announced this week. We also don't know how involved he is. Is he doing the entire soundtrack? Is it just a little bit? He just posted to Twitter about it, like promoting it as a project. So, but he has been doing work with a lot of metalcore bands. Sadly, it's a bunch of metalcore bands that I don't enjoy. Because otherwise I would have brought one of those songs up in the previous episode as my entry for a song, a sleeper hit from a video game composer, because I really love Mick Gordon's work. But he has been working at least outside the video game industry, but now we have confirmation that he's not persona non grata between AAA studios, which is something we fear.
Yeah, I don't blame him for wanting a break after that whole id Software debacle, I'll be honest. I think that's very reasonable to be like, you know what, I'll just take a chill pill on this one for a little while.
Yeah. I think he was also involved in Routine, which is important because that's not a soundtrack that benefits from the heavier, more intense sounds. And the man's got range as well. Oh, yeah. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of very different stuff. And I think he's done also sort of folky song that just plays in the background of one of the Wolfenstein games.
What he did for that isn't just folky song that plays in the background. Essentially, he did alternate history versions of popular songs. Like, what if the Beatles, but they were communist propaganda or something like that?
Thanks to you introducing me to the Killer Instinct soundtrack more as a whole, I seem to recall that episode I brought Wolfenstein and Prey, I think were my two that I kind of latched onto that episode. It's been a long time since we did the Mick Gordon special. You guys turned me on to this one. And
in spite of that, I still remember this episode, and in particular, how much the song landed with you, and I was like, get this one right.
Yeah. Well, it did land with me, because I'm still listening to it however many years later as a fairly regular part of my playlists. So,
Oh, yeah.
thank you for introducing me to this, and thank you for making it part of my life.
My
I'm glad
pleasure.
I'm... Now, moving on to a song Eddie made me discover that I'm still actively into. I had a joke answer all set up, and that answer was a band called Orbit Culture, which isn't a video game music at all, but in those times where our musical tastes collide, they tend to be really awesome, and I tend to want to seek out more. And before I continue, because we're just going to skip past the joke here, we don't need to talk about Orbit Culture to any great degree, but I have to ask, did that shirt I mailed you ever arrive?
So far, no. I guess it's lost in postal service limbo.
Oh, God. I'll see if I can find a tracking number. That's very annoying. That was, what, a month ago
I
now?
hate when that happens.
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, there's a couple of times where Eddie will just drop down something that really clicks with me. And the other one was during the synthwave kick when I started getting into it. Was a very strange, at the time not video game composer, but that has since changed twice over now. Probably more than twice. No, definitely more than twice. 3 times over now. At least. A artist who goes by Master Boot Record. Now, this guy actually also came up during my synthwave self-exploration, I guess, is a good way to put it, alongside making McDuffie. And it was another case of it kind of made me stop. And Eddie posted a video of his a little before that, because I remember listening to the Eddie one and you warning us that it was really weird, but I'm like, oh no, this is actually totally my jam. And then hearing it on that same kind of synthwave YouTube station at the time, I hadn't quite gotten into Spotify playlists at that point in time. And he showed up with it not far away from Mega McDuffie. I'm like, oh, okay, got it. This is the direction I'm heading with this. I see. Since then, he's done Virtuaverse as Master Boot Record. He's done Ultra Kill. And he's done, of course, Vampire Survivors Ode to Castlevania DLC as Keygen Church.
Helped by the fact that even before doing this work, they already did like a Bloody Tears remix in particular. I think that was my approach, my entry point into them as well.
Mine was actually Ken themed from Street Fighter, but yes, that one did also show up in those early playlists. But Orbit Culture and Master Boot Record have one thing in common, very much so. Eddie introduced me to them, and I liked them so much that I was willing to fly over an ocean to see them live when the opportunity arose.
Ooh.
So, in both cases, that introduction led to, yes, I have an opportunity to see them. I'm frickin' going to.
I'll take that credit all the way to the bank.
You should.
I don't think they accept this type of credit, but I'll try.
Yeah, may as well. What's the worst that could happen? You go to jail for attempted bank robbery for 20 years. You know what? Maybe don't try that.
As for this track specifically, it's haunting, it's powerful, it's winding. It's already a very solid base. And then, because it's Keygen Church, they move forward, and right as it's about to get maybe a bit repetitive, not even in a bothering way, just, okay, I get the loop now. They take it to the next level and completely turn it on its head.
I'm just going to throw this out there because we seem to skip past it. The song in particular I picked was a cover of Abandoned Castle from Castlevania Curse of Darkness that Keygen Church did for Ode to Castlevania. We did not actually specify the song prior to this, so that's the song we were talking about.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm already a huge Curse of Darkness soundtrack fan, and unimaginably, today they finally gave us a look at Belmont's Curse, the new Castlevania game from Konami, and Isaac from Curse of Darkness is making a comeback out of nowhere, and I'm just like, oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's happening.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting my oracular powers to quite work like that. Usually when this show does something, it just is more general, but no. apparently me picking Curse of Darkness, which admittedly the bulk of Keygen Church's contributions to the Ode to Castlevania soundtrack were basically remaking Curse of Darkness' soundtrack, which is awesome. I couldn't be happier. But this is kind of the main track from Curse of Darkness, and then...
It's the first stage, right?
Yeah, it is the first stage, which, man, did that game come out swinging.
And to get back to Belmont's Curse briefly, it's published under Konami, but the studio is the Evil Empire, the ones that did Dead Cells.
Yes.
And they already had a Castlevania expansion in Dead Cells, which I think is an important step, because for Belmont's Curse, first they had to make it really clear repeatedly that this was a Metroidvania and not another roguelite, to the point that they make a point to show parts of the map in the trailer, so it really looks like a Metroidvania map, and we swear we are making a Metroidvania, guys, honest.
Yep.
Which is a fun problem to have. But the fact that they already did the expansion that's mainly references means that for this one, they kind of can afford to go a bit beyond to have the deeper cut like Isaac.
Yep.
Not the deepest of cuts, of course, but still not your most well-known character in the franchise, and to not just play the classics, but take this game and this franchise that's been dormant for so long in an interesting direction, including the choice of protagonists and all that.
I think it's also worth clarifying just real quick, because Dead Cells has two developers credited, Motion Twin and Evil Empire. Motion Twin were the first developers who created Dead Cells, but Evil Empire were the developers who made most of the DLCs, as well as the Rogue Prince of Persia. And those most of the DLC also includes Dead Cells Return to Castlevania. So yes, it is the same guys working on Castlevania for the second time.
I think it's a very
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, you were talking about how you were afraid of what song I was going to say I didn't quite like. This is the one, actually.
That's baffling, but okay.
I think this is the weakest Keygen Church song for me.
Huh.
I wouldn't say I dislike it. I don't think it's bad by any means. But it's not... Like, the more I listen to it, the more I have an issue with the use of the choir here. Because
really?
The original version of Abaddon Castle, for me, it was a cool song where the synths kind of didn't fit in too well for my taste. And so when I heard that Keygen Church would be doing their version of the song, I was excited, because if it was all synths, that would sound solid. And then they turned what was synths in the original into choir in the new version. And it still kind of clashes for me for some reason.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's weird. You're not the first person who's had that similar problem with Curse of Darkness. I remember Baljet Mountains in particular, a acquaintance of mine listened to that song, and he thought that the harpsichord, maybe it was even a clavicle, parts of that song didn't match the outdoor zone at all, and like you, he thought that clashed. That's a very interesting point, because I just got reminded of that comparison, because maybe that's just a quirk of the Curse of Darkness soundtrack as a whole. Maybe there's just a little bit that's just a little off pace. Maybe, I don't know, that's interesting.
I think, personal opinion, if Keygen Church had gone for like keeping those synths and just building more synths around them, I think I would have enjoyed it, because there would be more cohesion in the soundscape. It's that clash that kind of makes me go, not quite.
Huh. I'm a little bit shocked.
To be fair, the bar is really high. Like, weakest Keygen Church song in the Ode to Castlevania is kind of like saying, least hot fire that's burning me right now. Ow, my hands.
Yeah, like I'm saying, oh, this one song is my least favorite Michiru Yamane song. The artist that I have like half a dozen songs in my gothic ambience playlist that I listen to all the time.
I mean, it wasn't for this track specifically, but they rolled out ahead of Ode to Castlevania songs like by batches of 3, I believe, and some of these were like songs for the $3 expansion to a $5 game have been so good I literally teared up a little at times. Not just because of emotional resonance, but just because they're that good. With a little bit of emotional resonance, it's still a Castlevania fan album with a game attached to it somehow.
Yeah, and in Keygen Church's case, specifically Curse of Darkness fan album. I don't know how that happened.
I do like a lot of Order of Ecclesia track, Wandering the Crystal Blue.
Yeah, there's a few that aren't Curse of Darkness, but the bulk of his work was Curse of Darkness, and as a Curse of Darkness defender and Curse of Darkness soundtrack defender, I'm like, this makes me happy inside. So, this particular song wasn't one that Eddie introduced me to for obvious reasons, but I'm not sure I would love this as much as I did necessarily without Eddie introducing me originally to this composer. So,
the funny thing is that I did post this song to your Discord, but I think you missed my post.
Oh.
As I posted it as they released.
There was a lot going on that time, and unfortunately they do all use the same thumbnail. With my dyslexia, it's entirely possible I just did not comprehend what was happening. So I apologize for that.
That's fair. Completely tangential, since you mentioned you really like Curse of Darkness. I just discovered, like, yesterday that there's a fan game that's supposed to be a direct sequel to Curse of Darkness, but plays like the 2D DS Manias.
Okay.
Called Remnants of Darkness, and Hector is the playable character too. So you might want to keep your eyes on that.
I don't know how Konami does with fan games. I don't know if they're more of a Capcom who will sometimes straight up just buy them and release them like they did the Mega Man Street Fighter crossover. Or
the guys like I discovered because I got a video of an update recommended to me. And in the comments, the guy says he actually emailed Konami and they said it was fine as long as it was free.
All right, sweet.
Rare, massive Konami W. Okay, cool.
We're seeing more of that in the last couple of years, and it's scaring me a little.
A little, yeah. There's another shoe out there. I'm waiting for it to drop.
You were the devil for a time. What happened?
Apparently they're on their redemption arc. I hope it sticks.
Yeah.
All right. Next topic. A kind of recent obsession I've been playing often on my audio service of choice, in this case YouTube, because I haven't bought this on Bandcamp yet, and I really should. So, this takes a bit of backstory. There is I don't know if he's ever done, original tracks, but a remix artist who goes by Rozen, and this guy did some really cool albums for Nier Automata. He did some really cool albums for Legend of Zelda. And this Nier Automata album in particular was actually a really cool remix album. Rearrangement album, more like. There is some remixing going on. And I'd kind of fallen off of hearing him after the whole Materia Collective not paying their people debate thing, so I just sort of stopped paying attention to the whole Materia Collective extended universe, including Rozen.
I see.
And as I was doing research for the Eddie episode, a recommendation hit me for a remix album for Elden Ring called Golden Skidoo. I know it's supposed to be Shadow. You cannot convince me to not pronounce Skidoo. And I noticed the artist was, in fact, Rozen. And the song in particular was The Twin Moon Night, a take on Rolana's theme, who we just talked about a few weeks prior in the Magic episode.
Yeah.
So I give this song a shot, and it's, of course, an absolute winner. Like, yeah, Rozen taking on Elden Ring, of course. Duh. That seems like one of the most obvious points of comparison I could ask for. This guy loves his big sweeping strings, and what is Souls-like in Elden Ring music, but not big sweeping strings. It's what they do. So,
yeah,
I listened to the rest of the album on YouTube. I've been going, and I've been really enjoying it. Like, damn, this is a great remix album. And it's not just Rozen, it's also Theo Penny, and there was another name on the list. I'm trying to remember who that was.
David Peacock.
Thank you. It's a semi-collaborative album, but Rozen is by far and away the most credited and the most prolific composer involved in it, in Golden Skidoo, and I'm like, yes. Yes, please? This is what I needed. The actual Elden Ring soundtrack, while good, was kind of missing something, and Rozen found those missing pieces and filled them in nicely. So, I've been listening to this a lot. I'll be honest, I don't want to talk about this to any great degree, because I've kind of made a demand that at some point we're going to cover this album, because, like, we have to. This is too good and too interesting not to.
Then here's what I'm going to say about it.
Please.
That given how you've talked about some tracks of, in particular, the DLC of Elden Ring, I look forward to learning a lot about not just the song and how it's great on the surface, but also the 7 different increasingly ludicrous layers that add to the greatness of the song when you have proper context of references. And it can be really enjoyed at all of these layers. And in a way, the remix kind of adds another layer that fits harmoniously in that complicated yet cohesive whole.
Yeah. The trick with that is
a more even intensity. It's more at a similar level throughout the entire piece, and it's a different kind of power, but that doesn't miss a beat when it comes to the intricacies that make the song what it is.
Yeah. One of the things during that episode was that we were comparing the two sisters' musics, Renala and Rolana.
Yeah.
And in Rolana's case, some of Renala's themes snuck in there, but it was very subtle. Here, it's a lot more prominent, and I think that works to the song's advantage. It's reminding you, yes, they're sisters. And it's just a little thing.
It makes sense in that direction, given that you would encounter the other sister before this one. So having a callback makes perfect sense.
Yes. Unless you are an absolute crazy person and just don't do that. Like, it's an open world game, so you could absolutely just skip Renala entirely and then go straight to the DLC for some reason. I don't know why you would. She's practically free runes, but that is a conversation for another time.
Indeed. Maybe you're doing a reverse boss order kind of challenge?
Oh boy. Eddie, brief thoughts?
I really love the strings in this. I don't think there's too much I can say, to be honest. I did compare it to the original a little bit. Because, to be completely honest, the Elden Ring soundtrack kind of escaped my mind after we talked about it.
I don't blame you.
Ago. So I did have to check the original. Check this against the original. But yeah, I think it's a bit interesting to me how they go two slightly different directions, where the original, by focusing on what I think are just 2 violins in front of everything else, kind of has more of like a dance vibe, sort of like it isn't a waltz, but it's sort of that general vibe,
which fits with Rolana's fighting style, which is very graceful. So that was clearly an intentional choice in the original piece.
Yeah, this version, it focuses less on that. I think bringing an entire string section makes it more dramatic and less of a dance to me. So it's like he didn't try to reinvent the wheel with this cover, but it does change the vibe just enough that you can enjoy both versions of the song in different mood sets.
Absolutely.
And then I'm just going to skip straight to it because, again, I would like to talk about this album at length at some point in the future. Free Space number 2. Now, I'm going to tell a brief story here, and that was... This one was kind of tricky for me to figure out because I'm like, what do I want to put in the free space? I feel like I should show off a game I haven't thought about in a while. And I'm a big fan of a couple of Sega Saturn RPGs, and one of them is the now unfortunately named Dragon Force, because everyone's going to associate that name with the band. The band is terrible. That idiot jumped on his keyboard. I will never forgive him. Anyway, and as I was re-listening to it, YouTube decided to throw at me a old video that I watched something like 11 years ago, which was a live performance of music from the first Xenoblade.
Not only that, it was a live orchestra they used, but not in front of an audience. This was meant to promote the 3DS Plus remake of Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah, according to the video description, it's a re-upload to YouTube of a stream that happened on Nico Nico.
That sounds pretty much exactly correct. So,
and for the record, the extract with just the song is available directly on Nintendo of America's channel.
Really? Because I've searched for that before and I have not been able to find it.
Well, I have. In fact, I didn't even know there was a longer version. Let me just send the link and we'll figure out if it's blocked in the USA.
It would be really weird for the Nintendo of America video to be blocked in the US, but who knows?
They've done weirder stuff.
So, I've been kind of the standard bearer around here for musical performance in games. I have seen a lot of shows. I have flown to a lot of shows. I'm up to 2 this year already, with 2 more coming late in the year.
To be fair, you are bearing the standard in a spot where there are more accessible performances than there would be in Brazil or in my corner of the woods of France.
Absolutely, and I do recognize that. That said, you are going to one like next week, right?
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks, got it.
Which is why we're going to delay the next episode by 1 week.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that info. And with that, this performance is really great. Like, it's got the same problem as once upon a time we talked about a Shin Megami Tensei concert, where it was just a really professional performance, if there wasn't really any of that live energy in there. It was just basically a studio performance, but, you know, streamed. This is kind of that same energy, but...
It's polished to a fault, but... I do like the small variation they introduce, especially in the choirs. The choirs sound very different from the in-game track, and I feel have a more reflective nature to it that work very well for the game that's already been established at this point. Because, it's one of the poster scenes from the game, I'd say, which isn't even a big story moment. It's just that you leave a set of grottos to enter the widest, most open area in the world in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you move past a canyon right as the music kicks in. And it's a phenomenal impression.
It is.
There's a bit of an overplayed nature to what's essentially codified as the Breath of the Wild moment, when you leave the cave and suddenly you look at the vast open area. But they did it in a more organic way, and also before Breath of the Wild even existed. So,
the song that I most compare.
Yeah,
the song I most compare this one to is to other famous field themes, like, you know, Zelda's main theme, or more recently-ish, Nier Replicant's Hills of Radiant Wind. Very much that same, here's your big open field, here's the banger track that's going to go with it, enjoy exploring it.
The Nier comparison is very apt.
Yeah. It's a great song, but it's also a great performance. And let me tell you, I love this bass line. The bass player, appropriately named Fire, is Fire.
Didn't see that. That's great.
Yeah, some of those names are a choice.
Very.
Okay, hear me out. A duo between that bass player and the one from the Primals, and we name that duo Gunfire.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's fair.
No, this bassist is going
by
for it in
the
a way that you
way-
don't really hear in the studio version of the track.
By the way, given how you opened this section, I'm going to ask right away, are we going to commit to making a Xenoblade episode? Because I'm down for making a Xenoblade episode.
I would need to actually finally play 2 and 3, and probably X as well.
At least
but
listen.
I really want to play them as the thing. I just never got around to it. They are huge games. Hi everyone, Galen here. I just cut a big ol' section that makes no sense and sucks for the podcast, so the next thing I say after this is going to sound very confused. I'm sorry about all of this. I guess it would be on my own episode that this editing debacle occurred, so I guess enjoy the chaos, because the rest of that's not seeing the light of day. Alright, thank you. But we may as well talk about what we're actively playing now, because, wow, totally derailed. Music Arcade now playing.
So, we'll go for a bit of a mood whiplash.
Please.
Before that, in my defense, I just want to bring up as a bit of a conclusion that is there something more Galen episode than being derailed by me?
That's
No.
fair.
No, they're really...
Excellent.
No, you nailed that one.
Anyway, your game's dying?
Yeah, so, mood whiplash now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been playing a few different games, but I would rather just focus on the one based on the dates that we're recording and also the dates that this will go live, and that is Destiny 2. We are less than 48 hours away from the final live update for the game.
Yeah. The game is staying online and accessible for now, but they're ending development.
Yeah, as long as Bungie is staying alive, the game is staying up in whatever state it's left. The final update does look really cool. They have been doing a lot of previews, and it's basically every player's, at least every veteran player's wish list just completely filled in. So that's cool, but like, it deserves
I
better.
appreciate that they're trying to give it a positive spin, calling it Moment of Triumph, but the tone of the track reveals clearly what this is about.
Oh, that track is actually old. The track I put on the playlist actually, it's the first time they're releasing this song, but that song is actually from a couple years back.
Oh, okay.
Let me give the context for the two parts of your statement. So, first about Moment of Triumph, that's also kind of related to recurring event in Destiny. So Destiny has these things called triumphs, which are equivalent to what would be an achievement in another game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And every year they have a Moments of Triumph event, which is to celebrate the triumphs that the players have gotten in that year.
Right.
Which is that expansion cycle. So now, since it's the end of Destiny 2, they have the Monument of Triumph, which is celebrating all of the achievements of the community throughout Destiny 2. Hence the name. As for the second part, the song that's on the playlist is called Farewell Big Red. That's from the final cutscene from Season of the Seraph, and I chose it for two reasons. One is the very obvious one. It is the end of the game. I will continue to play it after the patch for as long as the matchmaking lets me. As long as the matchmaking isn't god awful, I will be playing because the patch looks really fun.
Okay.
But still, it is a sad moment, so farewell to the game. Mike's back.
Also, is that me, Or is the first notes of that track like one note away from the Final Fantasy VII main theme?
I'm not sure. Don't remember. But
I thought it sounded familiar. I just thought it was a remnant of Eddie's Destiny episode.
Anyway, the going back to the song, the second reason I chose that specific song, "Farewell Big Red," is that the Big Red in question is Rasputin, and that's the character I have a tattoo of on my arm.
Yeah.
Which is to say that even though the mismanagement throughout the years left the game in a situation where any new player coming in would feel like the story was just nothing interesting because so much of the plot was gone, to veteran players, the story was everything.
Right.
Uh, I have seen myself in this character who had to overcome his programming to become a better person. I've seen people who relate to a couple of characters who are just two guys who love each other and they want to flee to the stars. I've seen people cry because of Lance Reddick's passing just because his character was such a fatherly figure to the player character. Uh, there's a lot of stories that really impacted people in this game. And this game is a space, was, I guess, a space for a lot of people to meet and a lot of friendships to be built. Um, One of our longtime listeners is a friend of mine that I made through World of Warcraft, but our friendship really strengthened through Destiny. Uh, and like my life would probably have been a lot worse had I never played Destiny 2. And that's because of its world, its stories, and its community.
Yeah.
You
And it
know,
deserved better.
Given that reaction to the contents of Destiny 2 story, I think if you contrast it to the previous game in the series, putting the story of your game inside of your game has a bright future ahead of us. I think that's a solid concept.
Yeah, Bungie mismanaging the story of Destiny is a tale that goes all the way back to Destiny 1, which was weird. Like,
That
Destiny
it
1,
was.
yeah, the technically the plot of Destiny 1 was in the game, but the lore that informs the plot was on Bungie's website.
Yeah.
On
That-
Destiny 2, they put the lore into the game. You get lore tabs in weapons and all sorts of stuff, and there are in-game books that you can stop and read if you want, as well as the actual plot that you're playing.
It wasn't exactly on a website, but Final Fantasy 13 had a similar problem where a lot of the information
Yes.
you needed was in the in-game encyclopedia that you had to kind of check on your own time.
I love watching a cutscene and then seeing a Wikipedia entry that explains something that is at best tangentially related to the cutscene and somehow more related to what you are doing next.
It's
FF13, you wacky game.
wacky's a good word for it. Yeah, no, maybe make your story something you can actually follow. How about that for a plan? I'm not saying don't make it complicated. Expedition 33 had an incredibly complicated story, but it trusted the players to actually understand what the hell was going on.
Yeah. And gave the tools to understanding.
Yeah. Making you go to a website or an in-game encyclopedia, or in Destiny 2's case now, I guess, YouTube videos, because they don't let you replay old events, is bad design. And I'm going to call it what it is.
But they've clearly taken the right lessons from it and given a story that will stay with a lot of the players, Eddie included. Like, for you, this isn't a farewell to Big Red, he's staying with you.
Yeah.
And like, even the voice actors have been very vocal about the game. about wanting the game to succeed, to come back, the franchise to come back. There are a couple people who like their careers are mostly as either background roles in small TV shows or entirely on stage, and then they came to Destiny, and suddenly they have hundreds of thousands of fans who just really enjoy their performance, and so they are also grieving for the game, and they have posted publicly a few of them. Um, of course, that's not to speak of Lance Reddick, who was very openly an
Yeah.
ambassador for the franchise during his life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it deserved better. It deserved better management. Like patches like this, like the final update, show what the developers can do when they aren't being held in a cage by the management. And like we know that part of the blame is not on Bungie. We know that part of the blame is probably on Activision because Destiny 1 and the beginning of Destiny 2 were under Activision. So Activision got their paws and did their things. We know what Activision does. But a lot of the mismanagement was Bungie's fault,
Yeah.
and it just deserved better. That's the long and short of it. It deserved better, and
I don't even
as
play it, and I
fans-
agree.
as fans, I think fair to say that the fan base is grieving now, and we are hoping that there will be a future, but that future won't come in at least half a decade from now because they aren't working on that right now. But,
Speaking of the future, when it comes to future games that will be coming out and that I'm not now playing, but that I've pretty recently learned about, it is announcement season. And one of the more striking entries, at least as far as I was concerned, was Stuntman Hollywood. Because they're making a new Stuntman game, and that's a cool concept already.
Yeah.
But also they're making it the Smash Bros of cool movie car, apparently. Because there's some Knight Rider, there's some Fast and Furious, there's some Back to the Future. All of that having the player involved in a cool level of car choreography. Choreography, if you will.
Oh, God.
It's gonna be a fun one.
You know, I've never been much of a Stuntman fan, but I am intrigued by that concept, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to get a PS5 for this game, but I'm very glad it's out there.
You can wish a list on Steam, so it's getting a PC release apparently.
Sick. Love to see it. And I'm going to wishlist it right away.
There you
One
go.
of the pictures
Actually-
has a
Right after the end of the now playing section.
Yeah. One of the pictures for the game has a DeLorean with
Yep.
the flames
Yep.
and lightning effects from
Yep.
the movie.
Yeah. Back to the Future was in the trailer, and there's going to be more.
The Smash Brothers of famous Hollywood cars is actually a super cool concept. I wouldn't be surprised if some older stuff like Bullet
Absolutely.
or French Connection show up in there. They got those famous car chases.
Oh, yeah.
The Mini Coopers from the Italian Job.
They could go in a lot of cool directions.
They could.
Yeah. Looking at the description, it sounds like it's a Universal deal because they specifically mention fan favorite Universal Pictures films, NBC Universal.
Yeah, that checks
TV show.
Oh,
out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Better to get the licensing in order. Anyway, next, because it's been on sale for the weekend and recent content drop, I finally took my step into Path of Exile 2, and it's cool. One of the more notable parts being that I didn't expect much from the music or the bosses. It's at Gaur Lake. These tend to be pretty straightforward, but no, the bosses have a lot of mechanics you have to pay attention to if you don't want to really quickly die, and they're making you pay attention to the mechanics, to pay attention to the bosses, and the music that accompany them. Some of them are really, really solid. Excellent surprise on that front.
Cool.
I was gonna say one of the main things I took away from this game is that it's hard as hell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I died a lot.
I have no regret approaching it the way I did this time, which is there's a lot of customization potential, but I don't know what an endgame build looks like. I don't know the possibilities quite yet, so I'm just going to get a build that looks good from the net and paste it in the in-game build planner. This way, I'm offloading my cognitive load of what the character is supposed to do, and I'm just clicking buttons and making enemies that are helpless explode violently.
As they should.
And what else could you ask for? Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
It's worked out great so far. And this week, I've also been following a lot of UMAD, which is the chosen community acronym for the latest Final Fantasy XIV Ultimate, which is a fight against Kefka.
So we had a bit of a single brain cell moment on this, but please continue.
Yeah, surprised they don't have the Warring Triad involved.
A little sad about that, honestly.
Keeping it to the side for something maybe related to Mericidia eventually. Although there are other notable members that are joining in as ads, namely Chaos and X-Death.
Yeah, who both came from that same raid series.
Yeah, exactly. And by the point of, at time of recording, it has been released since early Tuesday, and it's been cleared for the first time like 4 hours ago, something like that. So pretty enduring kind of fight.
There was a clear picture from a team who is well known for cheating, so that's kind of considered not the real first clear, but I think the first stream cleared happened pretty recently.
Yeah. And that's, of course, not counting the fake clear when you do the mechanics and survive through them, but you don't do them right, so the boss quote-unquote dies, and then you get your fancy chest, and it's empty, and then he mocks you and kicks you out of the fight entirely.
That's a great troll. I love that.
Yeah.
So
between that and the fact that when you do it right, he's taking a note from his behavior in Dissidia Duodecim and actually starts pointing fingers at you, the player, rather than the characters.
So there's a few things about UMAD in particular that's mildly funny in a me kind of circumstance. Item 1, I've heard they brought David Wittenberg more or less out of retirement to play Kefka again after the second Dissidia game, which was however many years ago now.
And he does a great Kefka.
He does do a great Kefka. He also owes me $20. I gave him gas money once upon a time. So Kefka owes me money.
Honestly, one of the coolest flex you can have.
It's up there.
Now I just have that Moon Knight meme in my head now. Like, Dracula, where's my money?
Exactly. You see, your money is in that chest. You just have to do the mechanics right.
Secondly, and this was funny. So when you said you were adding Dancing Mad, I actually typed up and then eventually deleted a request for you. And I'm like, this is your now playing. I shouldn't do that request.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that you put in a specific version of Dancing Mad. And then you went and did it anyway.
I didn't want to pick the original one, and I thought, what would be something, because I'm not 100% on which version is going to be used in-game for all of the phases at the time, because we hadn't seen all of the phases, and I'm not touching the data mining stuff, so I picked something that's Definitely not in game, but that's pretty recent and that's pretty cool. And
Okay, actually, you just lied because it
you
is in the
learned that
game,
a
and
lot.
that's why I wanted you to include it. You know how you go to the Gridania Gridania achievement guy and can buy Orchestron scrolls from that guy
from
for
your
the
achievement
ultimates?
points.
Yeah, the one he's selling
Ah,
is
I
the
didn't know
Distant
you-
Worlds version of this song, specifically the exact
Oh,
one you
I
just
didn't
posted.
know you bought the Ultimates version of that. All
You-
right.
Yeah. No, I mean, the ultimate songs are the ones he sells. In this case, the one he sold is now in game, the Distant World version, the full 13-minute track of Dancing Mad.
Well then.
Yep, that's why I wanted you to include it, because I thought that was such a cool touch that you could just listen to this Distant World song now in game, and you went and did it anyway for unrelated reasons now, apparently. So, cool little one brain cell moment.
Sometimes just have to be lucky.
Apparently.
Alright, but what have you been playing, Gaben?
Well, also 14, but nothing quite that extreme. Or ultimate, I guess, in this
Well,
case.
I haven't been playing that as well, but I've been following.
The new Cosmic Exploration released,
Mhm.
much better than the last planet. I mentioned that I didn't like Oasis, that banjo drove me up a wall. This one's a lot more chill. I like Oxesia very much, so that's cool.
Alright.
I got back to Final Fantasy 16, where I got bombarded by a version of my oh-so-favorite frickin' song. Escape shows up again. I both love and hate Final Fantasy 16, and one of the things I really don't like is that it's repeating itself, and unfortunately Soken himself has fallen very much into that trap, because Iconoclasm, the song that plays when you fight Omega, is just Escape on steroids again, like literally. It's like,
I mean, that checks out. At this point, this is his Omega theme, and he's going to use it there. He's even used it for Kenny Omega's song.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you all know how much I hate this damn song, and
Yep.
weirdly enough, Zero was trying to frame this as the good one. I don't think it is, because parts of this theme also showed up in the dungeon theme, as well as a remix of the Allegan theme. The dungeon theme was actually really good, even with the Escape parts. This boss theme was just Escape on steroids, and I'm like, I can't get past it. It's got some cool parts to it, but I'm like, damn it, why?
Yeah. It feels like it really wants to crank up the intensity to the max.
And I'll be honest, like, it's probably my favorite boss fight in the game so far, like, on a just general
Nice.
gameplay standpoint. But yeah, no, the song is definitely not doing it any favors. And then finally, I got a chance to play the demo of Warhammer Survivors. I wasn't a huge fan of this soundtrack, but we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping more comes from it as it goes.
Yeah, same. Big same. Like, the game looks cool.
Sure.
The way it works, it's survival-like, and it works great at that. The music is probably the biggest downgrade from OG to this one.
And on the subject of Vampire Survivors, may as well talk about it. New free X pack and new paid X pack are both coming out. The free one is
paid,
one new stage.
$1 whole dollar.
Yeah, $1 whole. I mean, that's still more than zero. You got to pay for it.
And technically, I'm being cheeky by saying $1 whole, but that means it's also a lie. It's 99 cents.
Yeah, of course.
I was joking with that friend of mine that I mentioned about Destiny, that we will only discover which DLC is the final Vampire Survivors DLC if they finally include the vampire from the main screen.
Yep.
They never will.
They never
There
will.
is
Apparently,
not a single vampire.
Yeah, I thought Dracula would count, but apparently not.
No, he's paid
And
crossover.
if
They're not gonna.
If there's one guy that counts, is Dracula.
A few of them technically count. Like there's this specific vampire trait that's shared by several characters from Ode to Castlevania.
I'd say
True.
I'd say the Count from Sesame Street also counts.
He's not in
Absolutely,
Vampire
absolutely.
Survivors yet.
Yet. Oh my god, the Muppets would totally work.
Everything would work. It's Vampire Survivors. Among
Yeah.
Us somehow worked. That had no business working.
It had really no business working.
And with that, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, you can find a playlist of the songs we talked about in the description below. We are on Blue Sky now. Come say hi. Have a good one, everybody. See you all next episode.
See you next time.
See ya.